So, in reading Plato's Republic, it's quite important to keep certain things in mind. And I suppose the most important thing is, what is Socrates trying to prove? And a close second, in terms of things to keep in mind, is how he's trying to prove it. If you can be clear about those two things, then I think, a pretty good guide to reading and understanding this book. What is he trying to prove? Uh, as you know from reading so far, he talks about a lot of things. And Socrates makes a lot of claims. But fundamentally, the overall goal of Socrates and the Republic is to prove that justice and the just life are better for a human being than injustice and the unjust life. That you will be happier, that you will be better off, no matter what, if you are just. Doesn't matter whether you get any benefits, external benefits from being just. Doesn't matter if you have the reputation for being just. That justice is something that not only should we want for its own sake, but that we need for its own sake. That is what he's trying to prove. Remember, this is what came out of Thrasymachus's very provocative definition of justice in Book One. Thrasymachus says that justice is the advantage of the stronger. So, you should be unjust. You should live for yourself. You should live selfishly. You should not worry about principle. You should try to get as many of the good things of life as you can in whatever way you can. And injustice is oftentimes the way to do that. Socrates hates this. Socrates thinks this is the worst thing worst advice anybody could ever give, and is trying to prove the opposite, that justice is the only way to live a happy and fulfilled life. So that is what he's trying to prove. The second thing is, how is he trying to prove it? Remember that he said in Book Two, in response to Glaucon Adamantus's challenge, that to establish that the just life is better than the unjust life, we need to find out what justice is. And here begins the whole creation of the so-called Callipolis, or beautiful city, or just city. Um, the idea is that if we build a city, an imaginary city, and we try to make it as just as possible, then that will give us a model. And it will be easier to see justice in the city than to see it in the individual human being, justice in the individual soul. But the idea is, we'll build this city, and we'll see where justice is in it, and perhaps injustice too, and then we'll get to know those two things, justice and injustice, better, so that, remember, so that, not for its own sake, but so that we can then identify justice in the individual and see whether indeed the just person is happy and better off than the unjust person. So I hope that that's clear, that that's what we're doing. The overall goal is to establish, by means of the whole book, the whole of the Republic, that justice and the just life are better than injustice and the unjust life. And the way that we're going to do that is by finding out what justice is through the building of this imaginary city, with all its weirdness and quirks, and especially its class structure. And its class structure is the key. I'll do one more video for this, for books 3 and 4, that emphasize that. That is, you cannot understand what Plato is getting at in this book unless you understand the very peculiar and specific class structure. And that means the social classes, the divisions, social divisions of his imaginary city.